Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What do we got today, Rick?
We got a Q&A.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin'?
What's up, y'all?
What's up, y'all?
What's going on, bro?
Nothing much. Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's going on?
I got this comment. I got a freaking pimple over here.
Dude, quit looking at yourself in the camera.
We got a comment the other day hating our intros and how long we talk.
That's probably fair, actually.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you come in for fantasy football, and you get our banter. It comes with it.
That's true. You got to deal with it if you want to get the advice.
That's true. So we're going to do a Q&A today. Question and answer, in case you didn't know. So we asked on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, different places for
We're getting
questions.
DMs to us.
DMs,
People
yeah.
DMing us.
Questions for Week 15 and the playoffs. And so we're going to answer as many as we can on this show. We have, I think, 10 total ones that we picked out and listed. So if we get to them all, great. But I'm stopping us at 23.5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I would. We'll see.
Just because you want to play video games, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not going to front. I'm hungry. And
That's true. You haven't eaten today.
Well, see, the problem is after this, I edit the podcast for about 3.5 hours. So
That's true.
it takes a little while. But anyway. So before we jump into that, be sure to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at thefantasychampions, and at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, be sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it in half.
Dude, just subscribe. You listen to our show.
It's true. You're sitting here. Our friends didn't even subscribe, so...
Well, they don't really care about.
They don't like us very much.
Well, I don't know if it's they don't like us.
I think we're trash because we don't win. We don't make the playoffs in our own league.
Okay. That was this year, though.
Even though we should have.
That was 1 year.
Both not make the playoffs
Because I had Saquon Barkley on my team.
Yeah,
you don't have an excuse.
I don't.
I have an excuse.
And then be sure to share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Click the bell for notifications. Like and comment down below. Now, I would say, if you have any feedback for us, please leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
If you have any ideas for next season, please leave it in
the comments.
comments.
I just want to quickly say we don't suck at fantasy because we missed the playoffs in our home league.
That's
I
true.
made the playoffs in every single league I was in except
for
the one with all of our friends. Yeah.
I didn't make the playoffs in just 2 leagues, and one of them was on purpose.
Oh yeah, that's true. That was I forgot about that one.
League.
I was.
We don't count the rebuilds.
Yeah,
around here.
I tanked on purpose on one league too.
Somebody's gonna
trying to get a top.
Somebody's gonna comment on this video and be like, "You should count all your leagues." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I chose not to win in one."
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, you want to get to the questions?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's start with the first question, which is an interesting one, I should say. It is Justin Herbert or Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
I really don't know because on one side you have Justin Herbert, and Herbert has not ever since the Patriots screwed him up.
Yeah.
He has not been good. 17 against Buffalo, 6 against New England, and then he had 20 against Atlanta. But this is in a 5-point touchdown league, so he did even worse. Let me go to another league so I don't screw up quarterback numbers. But he has not been good the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
last
16
weeks.
points.
And I know on our show a couple weeks ago we said, or maybe it was last week, we talked about league winners and how how Justin Herbert was going to be a league winner because of his playoff schedule and because of his end of season schedule, even from week 11 on, outside of New England. But getting 15, 6, and 16 in 3 consecutive weeks is not very good.
Yeah.
And then you have Deshaun Watson, who has actually been relatively good in the last couple weeks, but his schedule is the opposite. It's not good.
All right.
He has, in the last couple weeks, he's had 18 and 16, so he hasn't been great, but he's been a lot better. He had 31 against New England, 33 against Detroit. And then when he played Indianapolis in week 13, he had 18, but he's playing Indianapolis again this week. So, if I had to choose a quarterback, I know Deshaun Watson has probably got do you want to say that he has like a higher floor?
Yes.
Even though that he has a higher floor, I would personally start Justin Herbert this week because of his matchup.
Yeah, I'm starting Justin Herbert for me. It's not as close for me as it is for you. Not that it's not like a bad question or that it's. I guess it is kind of close, but when I first thought of it, I was like, I'm starting Herbert. The things that concern me with Herbert is his performance lately, obviously. But again, against New England, we knew that was coming. I think the one that concerns me more is Atlanta, that he only scored 16 fantasy points against a team.
Was that Herbert?
Yes, that struggles against quarterbacks, but he still played well in the game. He just didn't put up an insane amount of fantasy points. So against the Raiders, I would play him. It's just a much better matchup. Deshaun Watson is without Will Fuller since he's been out. He's been good, but he hasn't been quite the same. It's not his fault. He doesn't have a ton of weapons right now. And against the Colts, it's a really tough matchup. He did get 18 last time against the Colts, which was honestly kind of impressive. And I think he'll get around that range. I think he'll get around like 16 to 18 fantasy points. But I just think Herbert has the higher ceiling in the playoffs. That's what I'm going for. So I'm starting Herbert.
I think the other thing too that we need to note is that Herbert was averaging about 5 rushing attempts a game and maybe somewhere around 20 to 30 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And he hasn't even had 1 rushing attempt the last 2 weeks.
That's another concern for me.
Yeah, I don't know why that has been the case, but I mean, we were looking at Herbert thinking that he was going to break records this year, and now, I mean, he might reach, what has he got, 3 games left?
Yep.
Yeah, he might reach Baker Mayfield's 28 touchdown. I hope he does it. I hope he does it this Sunday. 4 touchdowns?
That'd be dope.
But anyway, yeah, like he seems like he's come down to earth a little bit as a quarterback. But against the Raiders, I mean, it's I don't know how you don't start him at this point.
Yeah, I'm playing it.
It's gonna be tough not to. But I think the comparison is like Herbert is like the young up and coming quarterback he hasn't been up and down, but he's struggled the last. He's a rookie and he struggled the last couple weeks. And Deshaun Watson is established. He has a name.
You probably took him in the 4th, 5th round,
right? And it's like, do I start him? And I think that's where the question comes from, not necessarily that they're stupid or anything for asking.
No. It's a good question. It's a very good question.
I think matchup, and when you're in the fantasy playoffs and you have decisions like these, like and it's this close, like I always go to matchup.
Me too.
And when you have to win a fantasy matchup in week 15 in the fantasy playoffs, like you have to make the right decisions. And I think that Justin Herbert would be that decision.
Yeah, usually it's play your studs for me. But if you have 2 studs, play the one with the better matchup.
Mm-hmm. So we have a pick 2 question. You pick 2, like at
we have 2 of these. It's like a fast food place like McDonald's. Pick 2.
No, that's what I was gonna say. You pick 2 at Panera Bread.
Yeah, same thing.
Used to hang out at Panera Bread regularly.
Why does that not surprise me?
They have a nice like dining area and there's like a little fireplace.
Yeah. It's a nice little place.
I do some work on stuff and
you can go there and
there's no cool places.
The podcast.
That's what I'm saying. But anyway, we have to pick 2 of these players. Me and Rick notoriously hate these questions. All the time. Can't stand them. But people ask them, and they always have the question. It's because you have to think about multiple players. It's not just 2. You have to think about like 17.
You're
players.
Like, oh well, you got this guy.
So I'll let you start. Justin Jefferson, Mostert, or Tyler Lockett. Pick 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure Mostert's even going to play this week, but this is assuming he is.
He got concussed and then came back. Correct. That's what happened.
I think so, but last time I checked that he was questionable.
It says that he is questionable. He didn't practice Wednesday, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. If Mostert doesn't play, that makes the question a lot easier. It's Lockett and Jefferson. If Mostert plays, I think it's still Lockett and Jefferson for me. Mostert has kind of been. He hasn't been the same player, I think, since coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Like I wanted him to be. He still looks explosive, but just the fantasy points aren't there. He's splitting the backfield with Jeff Wilson as well, which is just like awful for fantasy. Justin Jefferson is a rookie, but he has been extremely good the last few weeks. Really since week 10, he has 17, 16, 22, 22, and 7. Mm-hmm. He's a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. In standard leagues, he's the wide receiver 5. It's hard to sit Justin Jefferson at this point in any league. And then you got Tyler Lockett, who has not really...
I just checked the Dynasty League, and I have Justin Jefferson, and I just realized that I'm like golden.
I know.
I didn't realize I had Justin.
If you have Justin Jefferson, you're lit.
I have Justin Jefferson and Chase Claypool.
Lockett, though, has been a little bit up and down.
Yeah.
And it's been more down lately. I don't really... This is the real... Like, Justin Jefferson, for me, is you got to start him. Lockett and Mostert is the close one. I lean Lockett just because I know it's a tough matchup against Washington, but I do think... This is more about being against Mostert for me for this week than it is for Lockett, because I am not crazy about Tyler Lockett, but I do think he'll get his floor is at least decent enough. But with Mostert, I'm not sure he's going to play for one, and number two, I think if he does play, he's going to be limited. And knowing the San Francisco 49ers backfield all year, like when we expected McKinnon to go off, Jeff Wilson went off. When we expected that rookie running back to go off, McKinnon went off. You don't know what they're going to do. They're going to use multiple guys. I just don't trust it this week while he's battling an injury. I go Jefferson and Lockett.
So for me, I actually have a tougher time with Justin Jefferson than you do. But last time they played Chicago, he had 21 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So that always draws a little bit of uncertainty for me, I guess. I always try to look at, like, especially with rookie wide receivers, man. I don't trust a single one of these rookie wide receivers in the fantasy playoffs. Not one. We have a person in our league that started Justin Jefferson this week.
I mean, I trust him more than Jefferson.
Yeah, it depends on the league. But so for me, I think Rick's right. You have to start Justin Jefferson this week. If he burns you, he burns you. But if you got a really great pickup earlier this year. If you got Justin Jefferson, so I would pick him up and start him without worry. And if he sucks, I apologize. But really, at this point, your question is already difficult. So. I think I agree with Rick. Mostert or Lockett is really the question here. Start Justin Jefferson. I'm going to say if Mostert is healthy and he plays, watch the practice reports, I would start Mostert against Dallas. Dallas's defense is just garbage. And what's his name? The head coach, man.
Kyle Shanahan?
Yes, thank you. Kyle Shanahan knows how to get his running backs involved. I think this could be a game, especially when Mostert is the number one running back, this could be a game where they get into the red zone and score against Dallas, and I think it would be with Mostert. I agree with Rick that Lockett is probably the higher floor, but I'm going to go with Mostert because I think there is explosive capabilities where Lockett I don't think is going to have a 25 to 30 point game, where I think Mostert could put up 20, 25, 30 points if they did well against Dallas.
No, yeah.
I'm not saying that Mostert's going to score 25 points, by the way. I just think he has a better chance of getting 20 or more points than Tyler Lockett does. But I will say this. If you're in a matchup where you're guaranteed to win and nothing's guaranteed, but you're on sleeper, you get good percentages. 75% chance.
You would start Lockett.
I would start Lockett because if you have a better team than the other team and you don't need to be taking risks, then you shouldn't be taking those risks. So I would start Lockett. But if you're in a matchup where you have Mostert and you got to get a win and you're facing a tougher opponent than you and they have 9 wins and you have 7, I would start Mo. And your team's not as good.
I understand. Mostert. Like I think you make good points, and like Mostert to me has probably the higher ceiling than Lockett. Yeah. I just really the reason I say Lockett is just because I just do not trust San Francisco. That's what it really comes down to. I just don't trust how San Francisco is going to use those running backs. And I don't think Mostert's healthy. Like, I honestly don't even think he's going to play this week.
Yeah. So let's move to the next question. Fournette, Damian Harris, Kiki Kuti, pick one. I'm going to have to say Kiki Kuti burned my soul last week in multiple leagues. Damian Harris isn't going to score touchdowns. I don't know why people continually I've decided my feelings on Damian Harris. Love him. great running back. I think he could be fantastic with not the Patriots. For now and into the future, this is just a complete side note off the question. From now into the future, I do not believe Damian Harris is going to be a feature running with New England. I think he can go somewhere else and become really good.
I think feature running
next year. Damian Harris could get 15 carries a game next year, but next year they're gonna use Rex Burkhead at the goal line. They're gonna use other players at the goal line, and it's gonna look gross. And Damian Harris is not gonna score touchdowns. He's gonna get 9 points a game like he always does. And he's not gonna. I mean, if you look at him and you add touchdowns to Damian Harris's numbers, he's good. But I would not start him right now this season. I would not start him. New England doesn't know what they're doing, and they can't get into the red zone. And Kiki Kuti is literally the only wide receiver for Houston. He's like the only one.
Yeah.
So like at this point, I like even what's his name? They have the white guy, Chad something, he's been okay. Week. But there was another wide receiver. Oh, Cooks might come back, but he might even just play this week. I don't know what the reports are. Listen to our show tomorrow, and I'll give you more updates on that. But if he doesn't, Kiki Kuti is literally the guy.
Yeah. So you start him.
I'm gonna start Fournette because so
all that being said,
I'm torn a little bit. If Rojo doesn't play,
he's not playing. He's on the COVID list.
Okay, so Rojo is not playing. I would start Leonard Fournette. I'm probably gonna start him in the home league where I'm pretending I'm in the playoffs and I'm trying to beat people. I'm probably gonna start him maybe over Kareem Hunt. I haven't decided yet. But I would start him among these three guys.
Yeah, among these three guys, for me, it's Fournette too. I don't think it's. I mean, Damian Harris. I love Damian Harris, and unlike Morgan, I actually do think he's valuable. But not this week against Miami.
No.
He's good against bad matchups. I think he's going to be like that. Like I don't ever see him being a workhorse type guy to kind of agree with you, but at the same time combat you. But and then Kiki Kuti, I think he's going to be okay. I think it comes down to Fournette and Kuti.
I don't think Damian Harris blows. I think the Patriots will.
I know. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And like his limitations in the passing game, which isn't his fault, it's the Patriots' fault because they love Rex Burkhead and James White, is the reason Damian Harris is never going to be like a workhorse. So I know I agree with you on that point.
I know you're going to see the Kuti game against Indianapolis where he scored 22 points. He's playing Indy this week. I don't know if that's going to happen again.
Yeah. Well, that's why it comes down to Fournette and Kiki for me. But I'm gonna lean Fournette as well. With Rojo out of the lineup, he's gonna get a lot of carries. They've been trying to run the ball more. In Tampa Bay, I think this is a game. I know Atlanta has been decent against running backs, but it's mostly like. They've been decent against running backs, but it's mostly because teams have just torched them in the passing game.
Yeah.
It's not even because they're good at stopping the run. So I think Fournette has a decent week. But if you want to start Kiki, I think that's a decent option as well. But I would go Fournette.
Yeah, I would go Fournette. I think Kiki is too much of a difficult matchup. Can Sanders be trusted is a really interesting question.
Sanders.
We still got some more this or that questions where people ask who they should start essentially. But we got two questions here in the middle, and they might end up being the last of the show. I don't know yet, but can Sanders be trusted is the first one, and I don't know. I'm doing it. I'm going to trust him, but that's because I love him. Sanders only had 14
He
total
still
carries.
only had 14 carries, yeah.
What was his snap percentage? I don't want to
80%. Just
okay, yeah, so that's good. I think Sanders, and I watched him all season because I had him on 5 fantasy teams, which is why I struggled so much.
Your downfall.
But anyway, his biggest issue, like, because earlier in the season, in like the first 5 games he started, he was really good. Like, he looked spectacular. He looked like he was 1 or 2. Like, there was games where he had like 80-yard runs. I think 2 straight games where he had 80-yard runs, and there were other games where it just looked like he was just gonna explode. And there were so many good things happening. And that was when Carson Wentz was good.
Yep.
And then when Carson Wentz started to suck, and the Eagles' play calling started to suck, and the Eagles themselves, they always sucked. But when the offense fell apart, Miles Sanders' fantasy hopes and dreams fell apart as well. This week, they took sizable steps in changing the direction of the offense by starting Jalen Hurts. They said they're probably not going to start Carson Wentz for the rest of the season. That makes The offense, I think, a lot better from what we saw on Sunday. It makes them a lot better. And I think for Sanders, I think it's all going to come down to how efficient the offense is. And I think if the offense is really efficient, like even if you take, what do you have, 27 points this week? Even if you take the 80-yard run for a touchdown away, he still gets like 12 points. So I think Sanders, he's a very good running back. I think in this offense, if they continue to have success and he continues to get 80% of the snaps, he's going to be really good. And I think they realized two things. A, they needed to switch Carson Wentz out. I don't think Carson Wentz sucks. I just think they needed to switch him out and change something about the offense. And the other thing was take probably your best weapon, your best offensive weapon, and utilize them. And they did that. And what did they do? Beat the
Saints.
The Saints. Yep. So it's like offensively they looked a lot better. Hurts looked really good. I think that's going to benefit Miles Sanders. Who's he playing this week?
The Cardinals.
So Arizona's a little bit tougher, but
they're middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack. But I think that it's going to be good things for Miles Sanders this week. I think that it's not just going to be one game. Do I think he's going to score 20 plus? No. I think he's probably going to get 15 to 18.
Which is still good.
I think you can trust him this week. You can start him. I wouldn't be too concerned.
I think he'll have a good week. I would trust him as well. It's the biggest thing for me is the Jalen Hurts thing. I think that has changed the offense, the read options as well. It looks like Hurts, not that he doesn't throw the ball down the field, but I don't think he tries to throw the ball down the field as much as Carson Wentz, which is good for Miles Sanders because he likes to dump it off as well. Like Sanders had 5. I mean, he had 5 targets at Wentz too, but he was inefficient with that. He was more efficient this past week with Jalen Hurts. So I think Jalen Hurts is the biggest thing with Sanders, is why I trust him. He's got some decent matchups. Arizona's been average against running backs, so it's not bad, but it's not great, but it's not bad either. And then he's got Dallas in week 16, which is a fantastic matchup. And he had big runs against the Steelers. Sanders had big runs against the Saints. Was it like an 80-yard touchdown this past week? So if he can do that against those really good defenses, I trust him against the Cardinals, and I trust him against the Cowboys.
If this offense can get better next year, whether it's Hurts or Wentz at the starting quarterback position, I think Miles Sanders is like in the future. I still believe in him as that, like last offseason when I said he was going to break out. I still believe in him as that
I
player,
do too, yeah,
because he's so explosive. I mean, the guy literally has 370 plus yard runs this year.
Yeah, he can break off a run
like
anytime.
It's crazy. And he looks, and I hate to say this, but he's faster and he's a different type of running back, but he kind of reminds me of like Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook's definitely bigger though.
Yeah, no,
but I get what you're saying.
Like they're different style runners and different like size wise, but I think they remind me just fantasy wise. They
just like the explosiveness of it in the whole.
Yeah, because like I remember the year Dalvin Cook broke out in 2019, he had like a run in the preseason right before our draft party. He broke off like a 75-yard run in the preseason.
I remember that, game.
I'm like, oh, Rick, can I draft him? This one's relatively easy for me. A lot easier than the Sanders one, to be honest with you. But will Terry McLaurin bounce back? McLaurin's biggest issue the last couple weeks has been A, Alex Smith, and B, the terrible defenses, or terrible matchups, I should say.
Yes, good defenses.
That he has had, good defenses that he's been playing up against. And he had 6 targets in each game, 3 and 4 total fantasy points. It's a little bit disconcerting considering that he coming into that game was like a top 10 wide receiver. And then after that 2-week total where he got 3 and 4, he's currently the RB 16. I mean, the wide receiver 16, wide receiver 15 in PPR. So he's going up against Seattle. We talked about all season how Seattle is one of the toughest, one of the easiest pass defenses in the NFL. Against easy matchups this year for TMC, he had 11, 25, 12, 22, 16, 16. Those are easy matchups that he had.
Yes.
Or those are games that he had against easy matchups, which are very, very good. He's playing Seattle, one of the easiest matchups. I think they're like top 3 worst pass defenses in the NFL right now. I would think that Terry McLaurin's going to have a big bounce back week this week. I would.
Yeah. So the Seahawks giving up 27.7 points a game to wide receivers in half PPR. I believe half PPR.
And
or is that PPR?
if I'm not mistaken, Rick, I don't believe the Washington football team has. I almost said the their
Yes.
original previous name.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any more wide receivers. Do you think they have any more wide receivers that throw the
No,
football?
no, not really. He's gonna get like 80% of that. So yeah, McLaurin is like, this is an easy one for me too. I think he's gonna bounce back in a huge way. We also, if we look at what he did with Haskins, first of all, at the end of last season, his rookie year, he was great, and then in the 4 weeks so far that he's played with Haskins as the starter, he had 8, 22, 10, and 16.
Yeah.
And he had 7, 10, 8, and 14 targets in those games. Wow. And that's half PPR. So in PPR, he was even better. So yeah, Terry McLaurin, like, I think he's going to have a monster week this week. There's going to be people that are going to sit him because he's had 2 bad weeks against 2 great defenses with Alex Smith as a quarterback. Yeah. And they're going to really regret it, because I think he can be in line for like a 15 to 20 point week this week.
Yeah, I agree. Quickly, we're going to go quickly through the next 2 because I want to get to a couple.
Do you want to just like bang these last ones out?
Yeah, I do want to get to 2 in a little bit more
detail.
Complex, detail. Okay. But we'll just quickly do the next 2. Jalen Hurts or Taysom Hill, both have been.
This is a great one.
Both have been really good in the last couple weeks. Jalen Hurts a little bit. He still hasn't really shown that he can produce massive fantasy numbers. I think what we saw on Sunday was him actually having a shot to have a really big week, like in the future, because he rushed it 18 times for like 100 plus yards and two rushing touchdowns, something like that.
I don't think he had a rushing touchdown.
Oh, he didn't?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think, but there is upside for Jalen Hurts in the future to do something really big like that, which is why I think he might be an okay start. But Taysom Hill actually has had that ability to score, and they said Drew Brees is not going to play this week. So right now, what's the matchups?
So Hurts is up against Arizona, which is a very good matchup. And Taysom Hill is up against Kansas City, which is also a good matchup, but I don't think it's quite as good as Hurts.
Okay, I would start Taysom Hill this week.
Okay. See, this is a toss-up for me. I think this is the closest question that we have, in my opinion, because I think they're both very similar and very similar play styles as well. Hurts got 18 against a great defense in the Saints, and Taysom Hill has done good against teams like Atlanta. And then when he played against Philly this past week, he still did decent. He still got 18. So they're about the same. Honestly, I think I'm going to have them ranked back to back with each other. But as of right now, I'm going to agree with you and say Taysom Hill. But it's close. I just trust him a little bit more. You know, we've only seen Hill play 4 games. We've also only seen Hurts play 1.
If you're going to start somebody who didn't start all season,
yeah, I think I'd play Taysom Hill. I think the game with the Saints and Chiefs is going to be a shootout. Not that the Cardinals and Eagles game might not be either, or it might be too, but I definitely think the Saints and Chiefs game is going to be a high scoring game. I think there's a chance that the Saints go down in that game late, or in the fourth quarter, where Mahomes just throws it all over the field, and Taysom Hill is going to be forced to throw the ball and move the ball down the field where you can get some trash time fantasy points too. I think it's really close, but I'll take Taysom Hill.
Okay, Cup or Lockett. You ready for this one? I'm going to count to 3, and we're just going to say the player that we would start. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Cup.
Lockett.
Would you actually? Or are you joking?
Yeah, no, I would start Lockett.
Really?
Sorry, I don't like Cooper Kupp at all.
Dude, have you looked at their numbers back to back?
Yeah, and Kupp is better. I know
by a lot. And he's playing. You know who Cooper Kupp's playing?
I'm going to start Lockett.
The New York Jets. Don't listen to him. This is a bad one. Cooper Kupp easy. Cooper Kupp easy.
Another quick. Oh, we'll do this one quick because I think we gotta just end the show at this point. But should you start Kareem Hunt? It depends on who you're starting him over or not over. I don't know if I can trust Kareem Hunt, but one thing's for sure: when they're losing, Kareem Hunt's going to be involved.
Yeah. No, I think who are they playing this week?
No idea.
Oh, they're playing the Giants on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would start Hunt with caution. I think there's guys that I would start over him, but if you have to play him, like, it's definitely not bad. He did get a lot of trash time points. I think he scored 23 points. And like I want to say like 15 was in the fourth quarter. So, So as you said, if they're losing or it's a close game, Hunt's going to get involved. But a team like the Giants, I'm not sure. I do think they're going to run the ball a lot, though, which is good for Chubb and Hunt, because I think Hunt will get maybe some goal line work, maybe some late game carries that'll push him up in fantasy points. I'd start him at your flex. I'm not really relying on Kareem Hunt, but I would start him.
Okay, that's all we got. Really quickly, bang
these out?
I literally don't have any more time left. Jonathan Taylor or David Montgomery? Quick.
Jonathan Taylor. It's
I'm
close.
going to say Jonathan Taylor too. So that'll do it for our episode.
Oh, come on. We got to do the last one.
I can't. I've run out of time.
All right, fine, whatever.
It's gone. So yeah, anyway, thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's been an interesting episode.
Yeah.
Trying to find the outro sequence.
I'm kind of upset that we couldn't do that last one.
Fine, pick two. Ayuk,
Okay.
Hunt, Akers, Sanders.
Brandon Ayuk, Cam Akers.
I would say Sanders and Hunt.
Wow. Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. We will talk to you on Friday, my friends.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.